Trevor, as far as it goes with Ivan Demidov in particular, I think a lot of people were unsure about him before that combine in Florida. What did it do for you being able to see him, talk to him? I think a lot of people came away with a different opinion of him than going into it.
Well, what you see on the ice is the most important, and our job is to project, and it's a difficult job, especially when players play at different levels throughout the world, and to combine all that into one list is difficult. We've got some difficult decisions to make, but that's what we get paid to do. So with Ivan, we watched him on video all year, and to be able to see him in Florida at Dan Milstein's camp was great, but he wasn't on the ice. He's still recovering from a high ankle sprain, so he's doing rehab, but to see him physically, have him measured, he's bigger than what we thought. 6 foot and a half, 192 pounds. He's solid, he's an athlete. But what came across most positive was his personality. Great kid. Always smiling, speaks fluent English, and just comes across as he has that personality that everyone is attracted to. He can tell a joke, he can interact, he's easy to have a conversation with. Seems like a good teammate. We got the chance to watch him interact with the rest of the group that was there. Seems like a really good teammate and leader, and very energetic and passionate about his craft. And he's a young man who spends a lot of time in the gym, off the ice doing off-ice hockey workouts, stick handling and things like that. He's a player that wants to get better.
With Caden Lindstrom and having only played a handful of games this season, how do you all of these guys have a body of work, right?
Yeah,
so how do you project him compared to some of these other guys?
He's another one of, I can say it's like a box of chocolates, the top, however many guys you want to say, dozen. He's another one of those chocolates that's in the box. We have to use the information that is available to us. We've seen him a lot. Obviously, we have 2 full-time Western scouts who know him and seen him for a while. And we got a lot of viewings on him. We were there for the playoff games at full coverage. So we feel confident in what his body of work has and what it projects to. And we'll go from there. We can just deal with the hand that we're dealt. We're in Vegas, so that's a good analogy.
Good pun, or good spin. With him, everyone talks about the injury because he did miss that time. I believe it was a back issue or something. How much of a concern, is there a concern there with that?
Well, there's always a concern. I've been through that with other teams that I've been with. And so again, our job is to project. And we're able to utilize our medical people, our athletic therapists and doctors and specialists in those fields, and for them to be able to give us their professional opinion on, if it will affect that player's reaching his potential. So we've done all the homework, and we're ready to make our decisions.
One of the guys that gets talked about a lot, obviously, has a pretty famous dad who's a pretty good player. What have you, just viewing him a little bit, do you see similarities, just base similarities in the games with teams?
Yeah, I can't say that I scouted his father before, but there's some similarities, but he's his own player, he's his own individual, and he really established himself this season, especially in the second half, and established an identity, played well for Team Canada at the World Under-18s. So, he's another big prospect, and as I said, he's in that mix of the box of chocolates that, teams are going to have to make some tough decisions on tomorrow night.
Why do you think that, it feels like TJ Ginla and Beckett Seneca in particular, those 2 names have been the fastest risers the more that this process has gone on? Why do you think that?
Well, I think because what they've done in the second half and through the playoffs, they've demonstrated that they can raise their game to another level. And we're looking, we're not drafting players to play today. It's a projection and where they can get to. So they've shown a steady increase in their abilities and their development, and we think, people think that that's going to continue.
Well, why do you think that is, or how do you guys weigh it? You see a guy perform in the playoffs compared to maybe what he did in the regular season. How do you guys weight those performances?
Well, what we're looking at is players that are playing under pressure in the playoffs, you know, and usually in, you know, sold out buildings, pressure pack situations, must win scenarios, guys that can raise their game and overcome pressure and adversity, take their game to another level, and show that they can play at a higher level.
Is it interesting to you, just as a scout, to kind of see, because these guys are so young, how those development paths kind of maybe a little bit different, or some guys get to this point and they really kind of start making bigger steps than others? It's just kind of interesting to see just how players develop just in general, just because they're so young and there's so many different things that come up in this process.
Yeah, well, that's the fun thing about being in amateur scouting, why a lot of people like amateur scouting compared to the pro side of scouting is, you know, we're looking at these young men, and to see where they get to at the end it's rewarding when you're right, not so rewarding when you're wrong. And it's a difficult process. I mean, we all look back to when we were 17 years old and then where we were when we were 25 years old. You know, and you look back, just to make an analogy to those players, I mean, why some players peak when they're younger, maybe they're more physically mature, and they peak early and then they stagnate, where other players, maybe physically they're still growing and they keep rising and keep developing. So it's like, you know, back in high school, the girl who, you know, maybe none of the guys paid attention to, she wasn't the pretty girl, and in the end, when she's 21 years old, she's a model.
You never know.
No one saw that one coming, right?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Exactly.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I'll ask you kind of what with Ville out though. I mean, it's such a long process, and you spend so much time on these kids, and now it's here. I mean, is it almost like Christmas morning tomorrow, or the Super Bowl of scouting or something?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. Yeah. I always compare it to the Super Bowl. You play all year for that one game, and then when it's over, and you got to start all over again. And that's the tough part. I mean, we're so excited. We have these 2 days, then boom. I mean, now you got to start all over the next day for the next year's draft.
Yeah.
So and that's the tough part, starting all over. This is the exciting part. This is the fun part.
You ever been part of one where you had all the excitement build up and then your GM trades the pick?
Yes, I have.
That's probably not the greatest feeling, right?
What gets worse? The draft was in my hometown.
Oh, Montreal?
No, in Ottawa.
Oh, Ottawa.
Draft was in Ottawa.
Oh my gosh.
I was with Montreal. Bob Gainey was the general manager, and we traded the pick to Calgary for Alex Tanguay.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the pick. You don't want to know who the pick
I was gonna
would
say
have
you
been.
were
It was
gonna
like
you had it all.
the 26th pick overall.
Okay.
You know who it would have been?
Hold on, it was in Ottawa.
It would have been John Carlson.
Oh.
It would have been, because he was still there
That's
where
who
we
you
had
had.
him.
That's who you had slotted for
Yeah.
if he was
Yeah.
there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You, Don was telling us last week, I believe, when we talked to him, kind of a funny story just about how the interviews, like he had a guy come in one time, didn't say who. I don't know if you heard this story. He basically said, I don't even like playing hockey. I just want the money in the car.
Oh no, I never heard that one.
Yeah. Did you when those interviews? I'm sure you've had some doozies where you go in there and you meet just interesting personalities.
Yeah. Nowadays they're really
Coached.
coached. Yeah. So you try to ask questions to catch them off guard and just to get them talking about themselves and find out more.
How important are the interviews, do you feel? Have they gotten less important because of the coaching and stuff like that, or?
It's the more valuable information comes from your area scouts who do a lot of the homework. You know, they talk to coaches, trainers, people around their teams, try to find out as much of the personality background as they can.
Gotcha. What kind of chocolate is Cole Eiserman? If you had to pick one, right? There's a question
that's
for
a
you.
good question.
We've referenced a couple of. I guess what I'm getting at is everyone talks about his shot and his
Yeah,
scoring
he's a
ability,
scorer.
obviously.
Yeah.
So when you have a guy like that whose
Yeah.
one skill really stands out among pretty much everybody, but maybe
Right.
the rest of it has some work to do. I mean, how do you assess a guy like that? You know, like when you're putting him in ranking.
Well, I mean, you take into consideration his strengths and weaknesses, and does he have any weaknesses that are going to impede his becoming a 30, 40 goal scorer, 50 goal scorer? Is there anything going to hold him back?
Okay.
That's what you have to look into.
Yeah, that's just like a balance way.
Yeah,
type of thing.
exactly.
I know
Like in
he's-
Montreal, Cole Caulfield, the only thing that would have potentially held him back was his size.
Right.
Like his skating, his hockey sense, his compete, his
That was all
personality,
there.
all that was off the charts.
Yeah.
Just the size.
Yeah.
And that's what pushed him down
Yeah.
where we got him in Montreal.
Thinking of last year when you guys traded back into draft Petal
Yeah.
at the very end, do you
Yeah.
kind of circle some guys maybe lower that if like, hey, if this guy's here at a certain point, like let's really try to make like is there a certain process to that, or do you just have to kind of go to how it?
Yeah, we follow the list. We have the list. So if we have a guy, pretty good on our list still there in the 7th round, we're going to try to get a pick to get him for sure, 100%.
Has that size thing changed a little bit over the years because of guys like DeBrincat and Caulfield and Cam Atkinson? Like the guys who are not the biggest, but they're succeeding.
It depends on the team and the philosophy of the team and the general manager and how they want their team built, and the coach and the opportunity and who they get to play with or who they don't get to play with.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of them? No. Do they have to be exceptional? Yes. They have to be exceptional.